Check. I'm working on why my audio's being wonky on my side, but we'll work it out. It's okay. I've had worse. All right. I see the audio is supposed to go somewhere. Hold on. Settings. Working on it. Access. There we go. Might be a headphone thing. We shall see. Working on it. What are you doing? Because if I can't hear that, I won't be able to hear anything. Check. Audio. You guys can hear me though, right? Yeah. I think microphone's working. Give me a second. Sound. Check. There we go. It thinks it's listening. It's just being the stupids. You guys hear audio? Check. Almost there. Working on it. Waiting on our dear friend Rob. There we go. All right. Ah. There we go. Sometimes you just have to flick this stuff. Oh, and we gotta kick Instagram on. There we go. Bleed. All right. I think so. I think we're good. That's right. I do not see Rob yet, but working on it. All right, I'm gonna jump straight in. We'll remedy having Rob with us in just a moment. Maybe there's do I have to send him a new link? Oh wait, maybe he's got the old Rob Glenn to the rescue one. Just in case. All right. Damn on. Oh dear. Try the new link I just gave him. That might work. Or Garrett. All right. I have a theory as well. All right. Let me try and. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Friday I. I'm Hal Sparks. This is Hal Sparks Mornings Mega Worldwide. Mega Worldwide Friday I edition. It's when sometimes my brain gets ahead of my lips, and it's okay, ladies. Just kidding. So we're gonna remedy getting Robin here. Apparently, Ecamm's being a big old jerk. Although there is another option we can try, which dare I even Zoom is required allow. I'm going to see if we do a new meeting. This might be a terrible idea. God knows I've crashed the system with less. This is allowing me to even do that? No. I'll tell it's even no at this point. What is it? No, it's not. All right, maybe not. It's worth a try. Let's see. Scale is a new something or other. Zoom strip. Get out of here. Oh yeah, that bypass. It's freaking out because I have to leave meeting. Yes, I know it's stupid. All right, there we go. We're gonna try and fire this up. Yeah, I sent. Let's try this new link. Burp. Here we go. See if that gets him in here. Now, a couple things right out of the gate. I have been in. You guys know I've been unpacking a bunch lately and moving stuff around and trying to refine my system. There's an opportunity that comes when you of a forced reckoning with your tech buildup, where you go, all right, do I really need all this shit? Now, sometimes you do. Sometimes redundancy is the name of the game. Anybody who has traveled in, around, or near me knows that I have learned over the years that I need 3 wires everywhere I think I need 1, because one will fail, one won't be long enough, and the Goldilocks wire will save the day. Occasionally, hopefully. Not always, but there's always a workaround. And but when it comes to your home setup, a lot of times there's a I guess you guys know I've been building this race car on the track, and there's a lot of areas technologically where I doubled on things, or I've added an extra hard drive, and there's just shit on the desk, and then never mind room for props and silliness. The hamburger phone is downstairs, and I literally put it on the stairs to bring up here because I want to use it as a prop again. And never mind getting the PC up and running so that I can get my 3 remaining characters back online, which is a tooth pull. I'm literally, if AI does one thing, 2 things. If it cures cancer and it can bring back Ficus, it'll have been worth it. Every data center, every national park destroyed, all the water, it'll be worth it if it just brings back Ficus for me. Okay, we sent it. Hopefully he'll have a new link on here. And we'll get Rob in here in a second. But so I've been at it. I've been both unpacking and doing the mechanical work, being under my desk. Hey, we're not here to yuck anybody's yum. But in working on all that stuff, I'm like going, okay, that's no longer necessary. Just step away. You might think it might be, but it is not. So just put it down. Doesn't have to be there. Not for this setup, right? And so I've been tinkering with a bunch of that stuff. Now, I and you know, Rob and I have talked about this a little bit. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Rob is the it's not a leak problem. I'll recognize my peripherals through any browser. This is the only site that happens with. I'm sending it how I try again to use Restream. I see. I can't use Restream, but I might have another solution. Hold on. Let me go this thing. Hold on. We're going to get Rob in here. I just know it because I want to discuss this with him because Rob has built his own like uh system wherein let's see. Okay, let's say I started a new one. Oh, that's why it's hidden up here. Go away, you silly thing. All right. So in this one, yeah. Just go to this. I'm going to use Is that one cam? Yep, okay. And then so this okay. And then no, I want the Ecamm virtual mic. No, that's probably a bad idea. I'll just go mine. All right, start that. This is gonna be weird. Okay, and then I have to send an invite to Rob from the share this. Where no, I don't want to
Recording in
share a screen,
progress.
you goofball. And then participants. Here we go. There we go. Invite. Copy the invite link. Okay, give this to Rob. See if Zoom allows him in. Dear God, help us all. This is I'm stacking software like a madman. I'm gonna route him through. You watch. I'll make it happen. I'm not afraid. Oh, Mr. Happy. Yes, there's a recording in progress. That's true. All right, let's see. And I think my mic is on and my camera's okay, so he should be able to see me once he gets in here. And then the question will be, can we get okay? And then the recording. Okay, this. Meeting notes. That's cool. I guess. All right, let's see if Rob can get in through Zoom, and then, oh dear God, it's Avon. All right. So, a couple of things. We talked about this earlier this year, and Rob has been talking about for quite some time that the singularity is already here for all practical purposes. The practical singularity is here. The absolute singularity is either a nightmare scenario or a new godlike intelligence that separates us like children and gives us our best lives and keeps us from fighting each other. A boy can dream, can't he? So, but earlier this year, and the reason is because while some of these models might not be at AGI, Advanced General Intelligence, yet, the reality is that the tools that are available right now, if harnessed, and that's a key word, well enough, work great. They work plenty well for almost everything you do, minus the totally replacing the person part, which I got to tell you, there is only one way that I hear AI will replace employees that is being spoken of. There's only one way they're going to fire somebody and give AI its job. That's the only way I've heard this discussed. Does agreed? Like, have you really heard? I mean, except around here, maybe. Have you heard anybody talking about the expansive nature of it? Where if there is no one to hire for that job, you can now develop an AI that could do it, right? Where they're talking about how like you can't afford to hire people. Rob is waiting. I know he is. I'm working on it. He's testing me. That's what he's doing. He's waiting. Oh, in the Zoom. Do I have to okay, participate? There he is. So admit. Okay, he's joining. So exciting. Okay, don't show this again. All right, there he is. And I see him. Now the question is, can I hear him? I should be able to. Let's see, Rob.
Check. Sorry, I should talk.
All right, I can hold on. I can see you, and you're making noise to them, I think, but I don't hear you, and that's because I have to add you to the Ecamm. Give me a second. This is a whole new thing because this might actually work. But he's there. I can see him. That makes me feel better already. So let's see. Let's go to I guess 1. And let's see. And in this. And then do I have to add a Zoom character to this? Okay, hold on. This is a new thing for me. Oh, wait. I know. Hold on. I've got to get it. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. That's not it. What are you doing? Let's go to this. Undo. There we go. Go to this guy. I got him in the background. I'll work on it. Okay, hold on. I have to add a. Yeah, hold on. This is so exciting. Adding a Zoom thing. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm making it happen. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. All right, here we go. Options, recording window, Zoom. All right. And then, let's see, link that, continue. Da-da-da-da. And then there we go. It's almost there. And I think it will. So exciting. Okay, allow. And Zoom. Okay, hold on. Allow. Cancel. Join. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. This is so frigging tiny, this window. Joined by ID or link. Okay, I'm going to try this instead. So exciting. Copy. Invite link. Go to here. This thing. Pasting. Join. It's going to add another. Oh, dear God. Can you hear me okay? I'm working on it. This, check. There you go. And is that on? Is that better? No, now
I turned my mic off.
All right.
The loop stopped.
Excellent. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Gotcha. Okay, so what happens is, I need to. I'm hearing myself back, which is super fun, even though both of these are muted. Check 1, check 2. You can hear me okay now? Still? No, clearly not. Hello, check. Hello, check. Hello, check. Damn it. All right, this has got to work somehow. Oh, I see. I got it. Not
it's off
capture.
now.
Okay, hold on. The loop is gone, but you can't hear me. System will mute. Not capturing. Okay. All right. I'm going to try something right now. Oh, wish us all luck. Here we go. Hold on. Guess this. Nope. That's going to be a add a Zoom. How do I add a Zoom guy? Where do I put you in here? Okay, hold on.
I don't hear you anymore.
That's okay. Add camera. Okay. Don't ask again. Here you go. Permission. Oh boy. So So here's what I need to do. Unmute. There you go. Unmute. And what I need about this. Is that better?
Yeah. No loop anymore. I don't know if it's better on your end.
Well, it's I hear myself. Doubling back. Wait. So I know what I can do. Hold on. I can leave the meeting. That's what I'll do. I hosted it. Hold on. How do I get out of here? All right, hold on. I'm going to start from scratch, start a whole new meeting, hang this up, I'll send you a link. All right, hold on. All right, that's because this will be just terrible. But it's got potential for next time. All right. I'm hearing myself twice. Oh, God. Okay. X. End. Yes, end the meeting for everyone. Okay, new meeting. It's good. Okay, it's going to happen. This might be if this works, it might actually be a valuable thing. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Thanks very much. Let's see. Okay. And then we'll invite Rob back to this one and copy the link. And maybe that's why it won't have a slapback on this new one, because it's the built-in version of it on here. In theory. Wish me luck. Okay. And then, let's see, put this over here. I'm gonna get, okay, hold on. Add. Oh wait, okay. Is he in there? Or does it just show sources? Window shows. Okay, hold on. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. He might be there. Admit. And then, what is so exciting? Oh, there he is. All right. There he is. I see him. That seems all right. And then add. Oh, I see him in the cameras thing now. And then
check.
Yeah. I think so. Hold on one second. Zoom Robert Glenn. Oh, come on now. It's gonna work. Wait 1 second. Oops, no, that's the wrong one. Hold on. I need this guy. Hold on. Glenn. Okay, I think this is gonna work. We'll see. Polish. Let's see. Check. Can you hear me? Look at that.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I did it. And now we can do it via the Zoom in case everything sucks in future.
Please keep using Zoom. So
all right.
I work with a lot of people and I do a lot of these things. And I keep a Zoom account because when everybody else's shit breaks, we always go back to Zoom and it always works.
Right.
But everybody makes fun of me. They're like, you're so COVID era.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, well, my shit works.
Yeah. My shit always works sometimes. Well, it's this. I mean, it's a good fallback, and it's functional. Hold on, let me go back to live mode. So we're in here, and okay. After all that, hey, look.
Hi.
Who else can like troubleshoot their own live stream? What? Let me see what happens at all these other shows if something goes sideways when their producer's out with the flu. Thank you very much. So, hi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. A couple of things, and we're going to be talking about because I insist. God damn it, we're going to be talking about super intelligence today.
Okay. So we're going to talk about me.
Yes, that's right. I figure you're the perfect person to discuss with it because you're the only other person that understands me when I'm talking about it. And you yourself are super intelligent, and therefore, And therein and therefore. So let's see. Let me get this. I want to make sure your camera's in the right thing. And this works so much better. Okay, good. So there was an announcement this week, and this is what I want to jump right. We'll deal with this over the course of the hour, and I'm just so happy that you're here. I'm just going to gloat on that for a minute, that it's fixed and better and stuff, and then I'm going to nerd out with you really, really hard. Like
Okay.
I've been I pegged the meter on nerddom with something over the last like 3 days, that it's literally been pulling me between, like, I've got to do physical stuff around the house, and I want to keep and I'm talking to the thing and doing the and back and forth. It's nuts. I'll explain in a moment. But
Okay.
what we will jump to right away is this little announcement from a little old company called Safe Superintelligence Incorporated, who apparently announced this week, or maybe early last week or whatever, that this month they are releasing a one-shot super intelligence right out of the gate. Not
Okay.
iterating to get there, and it's the exact same people that were like, we've got to stop OpenAI, we must stop Anthropic and these companies because they're crazy, and they're just, they're racing ahead with this technology, and how dare they? And they're going to kill us all, and because of their race for super intelligence. When these companies are iterating to the point where they may get there, they may not, but the point is that it's not even at this point, it might be a long-term goal, but in the interim, they're just trying to build tools and all that kind of other shit. But these guys are just like, we're just going to let the dragon out of the barn on day one. And we're the safety
Okay.
people. This was singularly one of the dumbest things I have heard from the so-called smart crowd when it comes to AI in ages.
Who is Safe Superintelligence Inc.? Who are they?
Exactly. Okay. We are an American company with offices in Palo Alto and Tel Aviv, where we have deep roots in the ability to recruit top technical talent. We're assembling a lean crack team of the world's best engineers and researchers dedicated to focusing on SSI and nothing else. Now is the time.
Okay.
Join us. So it's hold on one second. Let me go back to here. And the team itself is a group of, like, it's an ex-Anthropic person and their team. Let's see.
Chief scientist of OpenAI, I can't pronounce the last
Suskovich.
name. Such a ver,
Suscover.
because
Yeah. Who was,
co-founder, head of AI at Apple, and that's Daniel Gross, and Daniel Levy, who is an AI researcher at OpenAI.
yeah. Yeah. So Suscover is one of these doomers that's been everywhere lately.
Yeah.
And like, he's one of these guys, I shit you not. He's one of the people that Bernie has been referencing, and other folks, where they're bringing this, like, this guy is warning us that if we don't stop this shit, it's going to get out and Pandora's box will open and whatever. And then what does he do? This is so remnant of Elon Musk when he was like, we got to pause, everybody. Why? So I can catch up. Like that. At this point, I'm calling bullshit on all these guys.
Yeah,
All
you could probably tell from my commentary in the last month or two is I'm calling bullshit on everything I hear until I see
right.
proof of anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ilya Sutskever is one of these people. First of all, he was born in the Soviet Union, raised in Israel and Canada, and then he works in Silicon Valley. And like, if he was a supermodel, you would think he was a honeypot aimed at a politician. Like, that's where they're grown and developed. Like, that's it. If you were looking for somebody to, like, oh, we'll create the perfect agent and send him in, and he will undermine everything from inside by pretending to be a good guy until the last second, and then boom, right? Like, it just reeks of that. It's hilarious. But for goddamn, like, he's literally one of these people, like, I'm leaving. You guys are playing with fire. Where are you going? I'm going to go learn to juggle torches.
Well, I mean, as also we've talked about, AGI is bullshit anyway. So
Right.
like if you were going to put them in a cul-de-sac, then let them go,
Right.
like let
Knock
rich
yourself
people
out,
give them
dummy.
money to burn and go
Yes.
stand in that cul-de-sac and burn your money. Like
Right.
I'm sure they're going to, they'll come up with stuff but
Hmm.
you know, we can talk for a long time about just AGI and how it doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
And okay.
Yeah. So let's start there. Okay. So I have I've always been a big fan of you, Rob Glenn of Root Design Chicago.
Oh,
I've
thank
always
you.
respected you greatly. And there's no back into this. This sentence is the trajectory I'm headed in, and nowhere
Okay.
more so besides your general charm and good nature than your recognition that a lot of these tools are already there, that they're so
Yeah.
already there that the point of going even further just to go gets dumb really quick. It gets to
Yeah.
be like a waste of time and power and energy, even to the point of like data centers and whatnot. You're like, I, it's just sprawl at this point with some of these
Yeah.
things.
So I would put a finer point on that. The LLM, like the Codex and Anthropic's Claude Code and the actual models, those are good enough. They have yet to find a good user interface to
Hmm.
essentially like work with them. That they're way behind on that. They really need to catch up. So if you were going to put a bunch of time and energy and money into this, it would be pause on the models and pause on the harnesses and all that stuff and actually make a product that people want to use.
Right.
That's or that works that makes sense across the board
So, right. Well,
to a lot of people.
agreed. Here's the thing. I don't think they know.
They
One of the
don't, and that's why it
that
doesn't exist yet.
that's
Exactly.
right. One of the problems they're letting the edge frontier dudes like myself and you figure out what it's for. It's like the end of Real
Exactly.
Genius, and if you don't know, that's where my shirt is from. Where he goes, they're going, I've been thinking about your laser, and I achieved you achieved about like 4 megawatts. What would that be used for? Making enormous Swiss cheese? He goes, that's not my problem. I graduated. Let the engineers figure out what it's for. And he goes, maybe they already have that part, right, where they're being pushed towards developing. In this particular instance, it's the other way around. They and it's not because there aren't engineers and product designers and all the people you can hire from Apple and shit like that to do this. The problem is that the people running this particular element of software are the most, I wouldn't even call them antisocial. They're like, they're just unsocial. They just, are arguably like the nerd loner crowd, but in a large group, which is really awkward. And they couldn't tell you what regular people do even before they became rich doing this shit. And they certainly have no idea now. So the idea that they're going to, everything is an academic exercise when it comes to product development because they have fucking no idea. You say what you will about the Apple 2C and then the Mac and all that kind of stuff, but the people that were using it to make the next generation of it were physically using this stuff. They were physically using like, oh, this keyboard's a little clacky. This I don't like this screen. I wish it had a disk drive. I need a bigger hard drive. I need like they were experiencing the iterative mechanics of it while working on it. None of them are doing that right now because it just kind of happens in a box far away. And so they don't have any attachment to it. So nothing is grounding them in the real world application of this. And there are lots of them. There are lots of real world applications. I'm very excited about some of the stuff that I've been playing with, and I know you are as well.
Yeah,
Um,
so you talk about two different things, or you could split up what you just said into two different areas. The first is
mhm,
the physical nature of the user interface the
Hmm.
keyboard, the mouse. Those
Yeah.
are experiential, physical things. But when computers first came out, they had sort of a clear thing they were trying to replace, that being paper and typewriters. And
Right.
so your first pieces of software that made the computer worth buying were things like Word and Excel
Yep.
and like the start of doing email, like that was replacing letters and faxes, right? So like the problem statement was very clear, and it was very understandable because they were replacing things that were like well known and understood by their customers, and their solutions were easily understood. The Even like when you started to get into where it started to break a little bit, but time allowed for it to be smoother, was the internet. And a lot of people didn't understand the internet. Like, go back and remember when somebody would be say to you, you need a URL in like 1998, right? Like,
Yes.
what's a URL? Why would I buy that? Like, what's
Yeah.
Google? Google, that's a weird word, right? So there was time where people were like, but even Google was like, it's an encyclopedia online. Wikipedia was an
Right.
encyclopedia
There was
online.
an
And so
analog you could understand. Right.
exactly. So to going back to the first point of your AGI, the big problem here is that the people trying to sell it are selling it as if it's air, like as if it's a superhuman being that you
Right.
don't understand. And so by virtue of this fact that they chose the wrong avenue to sell it, it's purely a marketing problem,
Hmm.
means that they have no target, because the target is a being that doesn't exist, right?
Hmm.
So how can you anchor that? There's no way to anchor it. So
Right.
what is out there, the anchors that are out there are ChatGPT, Anthropics, Claude. They look like Google. So they've anchored themselves in Google. And the first chatbot was, go to this text box, type in a question, and it gives you an answer. And so that was the first analog. And then the next analog was coding agents. Well, most people don't code. But the people, so instead of like thinking of this as like a bunch of people that are antisocial, the way I think about it is it's a bunch of coders that made a thing. And so their nail was a coding agent, right?
Right.
We're going to make a coding agent. And
Yeah.
those work really well, but most people, they work extremely well. Like, you know,
Hmm.
I think like that, so I can use it. But most people don't understand how that stuff works. And it has no connection to them. So what needs to happen, in my opinion, to be successful is somebody needs to come up with its version of Word and its version of Excel. And I don't
Hmm.
mean just it's Excel. I mean, when you understand how to type onto a piece of paper, the conversion of that paper becomes a screen and a highlight and a cursor and all the stuff, bold, and all the
Right.
icons. Like, those are things. If it turned into Excel, it's simply like a way to organize your math, like your numbers, right? So it very much looks, cells and columns and rows. It looks very much like you would write out your expenses on a piece of paper if you wanted to organize your expenses, right? Um, those are organizational methods that people understand. We AI in its current form is it's like nothing people have an analog to. And so
Right.
we have to create the analog, and that's going to take time. And it's not being done. Instead, what they're doing is saying, we're going to do this like mystery superhuman thing and just trust us. And then people fear it because the superhuman is the diabolical character in Superman taking a cent from everybody's transaction, right? Or
Right.
the person in the guy in Marvel something that wants to destroy the world. That's what superhuman intelligence is known for in terms of analogs to people. And here we are, like in a Terminator
Right.
world.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so they have a real problem with development because they don't know who they're developing for, and
They don't have a
you know,
target. Exactly.
right, because they don't have a need they're answering with it except everything. There's this abstraction to it all that makes it hard to fit in. And it would be true if you discussed electricity the same way. And that's why this is more aligned with a utility like water or fuel than it is a technology like a phone or a high-speed rail or a car, right? That's the problem that they have, that it's a trajectory of technology, not the technology itself. And we're in the middle of it. We really are in the kind of like, between the discovery of electricity with a key on a kite string and the light bulb, there was there's a lot of testing. A lot of people got electrocuted along the way. There was a lot of fits and starts. A lot of people thought it was,
Yeah.
half people thought it was magic. The other people thought it was too dangerous. There was a big fight over AC and DC between Tesla and Edison. And like Edison was electrocuting animals to show how dangerous direct current was. And remember that whole story? But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
So the analog there, I heard a really interesting take or explanation of the conversion of factories from
Hmm.
steam to electric.
Hmm.
And essentially a factory, it's, starting with like a factor, something creating motion from a water wheel, and then it's spinning a gear, and then you would like connect belts to that spinning thing, and it would like go all around your factory up in the ceiling or all around, and you'd have all these belts, and like everything would just constantly be spinning. And so
Hmm.
your factory had to be that. It had to be connected to the wheel. And then steam came along and they're like, well, we don't need the river anymore, but it was still a spinning thing, a steam engine. And it
Right.
still was a single, you needed to invest in one big engine, and that one big engine would run all your machines. So it created like a stopping point for you. Like you created a moat around your factory because it's really hard to make that. It's a big,
Right.
complicated thing. So electricity comes out, and they were like, well, why would I replace my steam engine with an electric motor? Right? They didn't, people at the beginning were like, it's just the big thing switching from steam to electric. And then the next level thinking was, wait a minute, no, we can take little motors, not one big motor. We can take a bunch of little motors and we put those little motors on all of our machines. And then what happened then was the little motors on the little machines didn't need to be connected to the steam engine. So now you could
Hmm.
put lighter machine, you could have multi-level factories. So you could build up. You could have smaller factories doing less things and more specialty type things. And that's sort of what started to get us into World War II era, the ability to ramp up in production for World War II. So my point is like in electricity, the change, it was like it was a paradigm shift of how to think about the organization of your shop floor in that sense. AI is sort of similar, where it's a shift in the paradigm of how you're organizing information, but
Right.
also how you're organizing the products you're selling to the people that you're selling the products to, right? And the problem is that because it's such an individual thing, it's a very personal, like the way you work and the way I work are completely different.
Right.
But the two of us will both use Photoshop or we'll both use After Effects, right? Well, with AI, it doesn't work that way. You can just come up with your own way to cut yourself out of a green screen, and I can come up with my own way, and we can look
Right.
at it completely different. So the problem is that once you decentralize the thing that's working, then you don't have economy of scale inside the Photoshop, inside the After Effects. Everybody's doing something different, and you start to lose control of that. And people, so my thing with AI is like it's it's a bottom up technology as opposed to a top down technology. And the reason why the companies that are making it want it to turn into a utility is basically because they want taxpayers to fund the infrastructure of it. They
Right.
don't want to pay for the infrastructure.
Um, Agreed. Now, the the issue that I think a lot of people have is, where does this affect me except it's using up my energy and water? And that's almost entirely how it's been read. And I think the marketing problem that AI has had so far is this idea that in its appeal, we spoke of this a little bit before, but in this attempt to speak to the business community and the investor community to get the money from the kind of people that have it. Did I freeze? I did. I froze. That's weird.
You're frozen, yeah.
Oh, that's
And
funny. Hold on one
I'm
second. I'll
moving
remedy
though.
that. Oh yeah, yeah, it's good. Okay. Oh, my
It's because I'm
camera
on
dropped.
Zoom.
Yeah, my camera dropped to like 720 for a second there.
There you go.
Anyways,
There you go. You're
yeah, it
good.
looked very intense. Um, but what the primary marketing problem that they run into is that they're who you're appealing to and who you're trying to get money from will determine the message that you're sending out. And if you're trying to get
Yeah.
money from rich investors who have billions of dollars, if not $500 billion to invest, it's going to be a bunch of people who are like, don't like people. I don't want labor. I don't want machines. I want this to do everything for me while I sit on my yacht and count my money or something like that. And that's the mentality that
Yeah.
they've kind of
Well,
approached this with.
I look at that as like the what I call the Shark Tank effect. Like um we watch it like, we got Trump because of the apprentice effect, right? But we watch Shark like people I do a lot of new products. AI is a
Hmm.
new product. So like every time a new thing I tell someone I'm working on a thing, they're always like, "Are you going to go on Shark Tank? Are you going to go on Shark Tank?" Because
Hmm.
their vision of what this thing that people do when they bring is essentially like you do a bunch of work and you come up with this fantastic lightning bolt kind of idea, and then some rich dude is going to give you a whole lot of money and take 51% of your company. And on Shark Tank, when you watch it, effectively almost every one of them is like, you know what, you could make your product cheaper if you just use my factories in China, and then you could make more money. And so I'm going to invest in your company and we'll move your production to China. That
Right.
happens a lot. So my point
Yep.
is to say that in this situation, the group of people that you're talking to get money, their entire thing is we got to get rid of labor because labor is the most expensive part of this. And
Right.
they overvalue their money. They say, my money is what is the thing that makes all things possible,
Right.
because their situation is like in this society where it's like nobody gets excited if I say I've been working for 12 months on this widget and it's very exciting. They're like, 12 months. Like, aren't you getting bored? Like, I could have designed five things in that time and
Right.
got Mr. Wonderful to give me $1 million each. Right.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, it's really cool because we're constant gardening. We're like building something and we
Yeah.
have a long-term profit maybe
So
and this and that.
to that
So it's
to that
short
point,
term,
yeah.
it's short term to long term. And we're in a short term society right now.
Yeah.
And,
To
to
that
that point,
point, one of the things I saw as a negative, in a video where somebody was sort of criticizing the tech billionaires, and they're like, "Why are they weirder than billionaires past?" Which I would argue, Howard Hughes, anyone like the drunk robber
yeah.
barons, like I don't agree. The eccentric millionaire is just now the eccentric billionaire, and that's a factor of adjusted for inflation dollars more than anything else. Um, and if if what you regard as wealth is the distance between the lifestyle you can have and what other people can have, it's so much more narrow than it ever was. Even though we talk about income inequality, the life experience inequality is still not that great. Like if you own a boat and the giant yachts like we've talked about, they're big bug out yachts. There's so much stress and money and staff and shit that goes on with just having one of those, that you parallel that to how many days of the year you are on this boat. How much time do you actually spend? What, 12 days a year, some shit like that? Whereas, a person that makes way less than you do could charter a boat with a group of friends for a week have a great fucking time and never have to worry about the boat again the day they leave, or take a cruise if you're a Joe Schmo like me, and that's enough. You're still experiencing being on a giant boat with all this food, and whenever you want to eat, it's always there, and the water's all around. You got the view, blah blah blah. Like the trade off is just in your mind almost of what you think a good time should be like. And most of these idiots have no idea what a good time feels like. Have you ever seen Elon Musk dance? But the one of the things they pointed out is that Zuckerberg, Thiel, even Musk, a little bit to a lesser extent, but a few of these folks were offered buyout money early. Specifically, Zuckerberg was offered $1 billion, and he told them to go fuck themselves. And he was almost voted off the board for saying no, because he knew it's worth long term, and he knew that the Mr. Wonderfuls that showed up at his door would only offer $1 billion if it was worth $5 billion. And so he held on to it, and he's kept close to it. And there was this period where this is where they're a lot more like the robber barons of old, the sort of Gatsby-esque kind of people, or Howard Hughes or somebody like that, than they are the kind of mid-level 80s, 90s, and early 2000s people who are like, yeah, you build up something and you sell it. You build a company up and you wait for some sucker to give you the money, and then off you go. And they compared it to Tom from MySpace, who sold MySpace for $580 million. And, well before Zuckerberg. And he's not sweating anything. Dude gave a bunch of money to charity. He's traveling the world, just like living his best life. He did that thing. He sold it and moved on. And that used to be the old normal. And to some degree was seen as this sort of corporate selling out version. But in reality, he just did what's more natural, I think. Whereas these other guys are like, I need the power of this. I need to be in control of this thing. And that's where the value came. No amount of money, because it's about legacy access, living a super life, some being historic, some shit like that. But the problem with that is that they have no metric for what that feels like. It's a goal that's always out of reach. So it makes it greedy and voracious in looking at them. But in reality, it's more like they're walking around blind in a forest, blindfolded in a forest. They have no fucking idea when the path ends. They don't know when they've made it. That's very different from somebody who thinks they made it because they sold the company and fucked off, or thinks they made it because their name's over the door. There's this weird window, and I think this goes to that whole point about why there's no product that people can readily grip onto it, because they just don't experience life like everybody else does. They didn't before, as nerdy coders who didn't need much but a shitty desk and some snacks. And they don't need it now because everybody's doing everything for them, because they're the CEO of a company that just magically appeared at the front of the line.
Yeah, well, again, going back to the idea of when the .com era began and a lot of the money was made, a lot of the movement was from physical to non-physical products. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that it's way cheaper to develop an Uber app than it is to develop a Waymo car, right? It's massively cheaper, and there's a lot less risk involved. So like almost everybody in this situation right now, outside of maybe Jensen Huang, is a software person. Like they're people who essentially like made their billions on air, like on an idea, like on a social media is basically just a chat. It's like chatting, right? Like it's just a more complicated version of it. You could argue that maybe Musk was, with Tesla and SpaceX, like there's a physical nature to that. There's a physical nature to the satellites going up for the whatever the Skynet thing is.
Yeah,
I always forget the name. Anyway,
Starlink.
Starlink. Thank you. But he started in a PayPal world, right? Mm-hmm. Which again was just a financialization. And so So as these software companies became bigger and bigger, even GM at the time was like turning into a financial company. They were making
Right.
cars, but they started a lending, essentially a
Yeah, it was like
lending arm.
a delivery system for the lending arm. Like the cars were an excuse
Exactly.
to, but in the same way that McDonald's and Starbucks became real estate companies over time
Right.
because they would
This is my
buy.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is it's financialized. Like their
Hmm.
idea of innovation is innovating the way we play the game. It's in a like you know in a simple form, if you make a widget, you have inputs that cost something, you have labor to put it together, whatever, and sell it, and then you sell it and you're supposed to get a profit, right? So
Hmm.
if it costs $5 a unit to make and you sell it for 10, then you walk away with $5 and you build a company on $5 a widget, right? And you
Hmm.
pay the people that made it. That's not how these guys operate. They're like, well, if you could go to China and buy it for what was five, now buy it for two, and
Hmm.
then put it in a container. And when the container's coming from there to here, you got 30 days. So maybe you take a loan out on the on that amount of stuff. You buy more stuff, send a second container behind it, and then you get there and it goes to the retail and blah blah blah. So what my point is like every step of these ways, they're like, how can we extract more and more and more profit out of this thing? And
Right.
and it got to the point where like you physically can't do it anymore. So you have to make stuff up. And that's
Yeah.
where you literally have to make up a game. You have to make up whatever what were the financial things that the housing market blew up on.
Oh, the credit
The
default swaps.
credit default swaps, right? So they're like, well, you've stacked 17 different loans on top of each other and then bundled them into something. And at the end of the day,
Hmm.
you're still just playing a game, right?
Right.
Well, we like the AI thing, there's no iPhone. Like Apple had a thing. They had a thing that's in people's
Right.
hands and it costs money to make and they cost money to sell. And then they use that thing as a conduit to then show you their software and keep you in their environment. AI doesn't have that. There's no thing. And they're racing around trying to come up with a thing. And the problem is they got too far ahead of themselves and there's probably not a thing.
Well,
Because
interestingly enough, what's happening is, if you'll recall, Apple was catching a lot of shit for being behind the AI
yes,
curve.
yes,
They really were. Everybody was like, "Wow, this vanguard company is dragging on this." Now, there's a myriad of reasons for that. Not the least of which is there were there were a lot of grokkish moments that were going to happen, or Google's becoming racist, while everybody was still trying to learn how to make these things behave and how they would actually function. So getting out in front, it was a great way to embarrass yourself and create a situation where your company become has just like a shit PR cycle for a month and a half because it did it it made a Nazi salute emoji and then added it to everybody's phone, right? You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of shit you worry about in the beginning. There's a reason why you don't want to be on the vanguard of some, again, a utility like technology. It's like changing from USB A to C to some degree. It's the same kind of deal. Like until it's ubiquitous enough and until it's trusted by consumers, you're better to stick with what worked, even if it worked in a more limited way, until someone forces your hand or whatever, like Europe making everybody use USB C and agreeing on that, right? So, what happened was, though, is that you've got a situation where Apple is hardware, that, the phone, the computers, the entire setup or whatever, and they've just released or just announced the release, as it were, of Siri AI. Siri will now have a lot more capability, be a lot closer to the regular vocal sessions you would have on the sort of the high end ChatGPT stuff as far as interaction, and it's got natural access, just like you could make a reminder and it'll show up in your calendar. It's ubiquitous through your computer and it's local. And this is one of the things that you and I have been talking about too, is that the idea of these giant sprawling data centers in the cloud's going to do all this shit, when in reality it's going to taper towards more local, and you'll only really use cloud-based stuff and the giant data centers for long range inference stuff where you're trying to reason the existence of, track all the planets at once and maybe see if there's an asteroid headed towards the Earth. Like, that's what you need giant data centers for. But locally, the tools you've been talking about and all that is coming home. It's getting smaller. And let me show you something. I'm going to grab something and show this real quick. This is my home AI base. This is I unhooked it because I'm resetting it to the new space. This is a Raspberry Pi, a green effect. This is just a home assistant, and it runs in here, and it has its own built-in proprietary mini AI elements. One that knows and understands sensors, knows and understands cameras, that kind of stuff on a very localized way. It can't do big reasoning. Oh, if there's a dog out the front door, my owner is allergic to dogs, therefore probably tell them don't go outside. Like, that's way down the line. But going, hey, there's a dog outside is plenty. Nobody fucking needs any more than that, really. And that's already mechanically in this thing, which costs like $250. That's the thing that's much closer to the iPhone moment that's going to start rolling forward. That's why everybody was trying to say it's got AI in it, because they're trying to take these devices we're all normalized to and go, it's been augmented. It's way easier to use. You don't have to read the manual, talk to it, and it'll fix itself a little bit. That's really where that's going. That's really where these models are going. And none of that has to do with a fucking $20 or $100 a month subscription to anything. That's their problem.
Right. Yeah. So Apple was getting made fun of a lot. And, like in the news, you'd see like they're behind the ball, but their greatest choice, the thing that's going to be, and they're like they are a long-term company. So to that point, they think in long terms. It was switching to their Apple silicon, and they used to buy Intel chips. And now they switched to what effectively is called an ARM system. Like, it's kind of like an open source silicon or CPU type of architecture. And the thing that they were trying to do, because they are a phone, they came from phone land. They were trying to get their iPhone to do as much as possible, right? Or their tablet, like an iPad. And they were trying to decomputer because you didn't want to go sit at your desktop, right? So they were developing essentially on the phone architecture. And now, as things start to become what they are, they're positioned with their hardware to actually be very competitive. They're already very competitive because what you just said, you don't need, NVIDIA's basically got these like crazy ass chips that like nobody can run. It just won't work in a house, right? Like, you can't go buy an H100 in a box and plug it in and have it be your AI, right? But you can buy a Mac Mini. And I think they're coming out with like the M7 next or M6. Yeah. They just announced
they're skipping 5 and going straight to 6 or something along those lines. Right. Or 6 going straight to 7 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever this next one coming out is, it's very well aligned with a pretty well performing local AI. And so they'll be there effectively ready to run whatever you want to run on that thing. And again, I keep saying, like, Siri is just Siri, right? Like, that's their product, but Apple makes their money not with only their own things, but with the App Store. So they're very well positioned for someone just to come. I mean, the problems that are going to get solved are so mundane and simple. Like, oh shit, I forgot, what day was that party on? What time was that party? What address was that party? And if this thing is basically listening to your conversation, which I know is scary, but if it's local, it's only saving it for you. I record myself all the time on my local stuff. And then if I forget, I'm like, hey, I talked about a party. I think it was like 3 weeks ago, or I talked about a meeting. Yeah, that was at this time because it's already got it in my system, right?
Right.
So I'm doing this right now, and it's, nobody else would be able to do what I built, but Apple can build it, or Apple
Hmm.
can put a phone out there and someone wanting to make an app that's like never forget a date, right? That's a lot
Hmm.
easier, never forget a date app,
Yeah.
uh, then this superhuman is going to take your friend's jobs and make you $1 million if you
Right.
make
Yeah.
blah blah blah, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
Have fun being
anyway, the
poor. It's the new crypto. It's in a lot of ways, that's kind of what they're talking about. I wanted to point out a couple of things in terms of the hardware aspect of it. So, before I get into, when we went through the safe super intelligence, and there have been a couple of like localized and then sort of distant leaps forward that have occurred. But one of the things that I brought up like a week ago, where'd you go? Oh,
oh,
it's funny.
hello.
Wee, I'll fix you. Don't worry. That's so funny. What happened? Um, let's see. This is
Well, it's all new. It's all new setups now. So
it is absolutely. So there you go. Yay, fixed it. All right. Yeah, that was just weird. So the there is this is extra, but there's a couple of these companies that because
yes,
people don't want data centers everywhere, they are creating data center nodes you can attach to the side of your house that looks like a big air conditioning unit and sounds about like one, and much more, much quieter than having a data center nearby. Even if your neighbor has one and your neighbor's neighbor has one, if anybody lives in the Vegas area or Phoenix or anywhere it's hot, when everybody's air conditioning units are going all the time, when you're next to them you hear them and they seem incredibly loud. 30 feet away you don't, right? So same kind of thing here. But these have these NVIDIA chips in them. They have the RTX, whatever
the
the
HG
Blackwell
H200 or
servers.
what? Sorry,
Yeah,
whatever.
and they have 16 like NVIDIA RTX Pro 6000s in them, which is beyond
Okay.
the graphics cards that have been repurposed. And they sit outside and they run on a fan or whatever, and they pay you to have it attached to your house, so
It's
your internet is free.
kind of like
And
buying solar panels, like
that's right.
yeah,
Yes. And
you're
the way the
giving
buy-in,
electricity back to the grid. You're like releasing them. You're buying them, like however you finance them, and then you
right.
make money. You're saving money, and then you're making money a little bit by going back to the grid.
That's right. And the companies that lease them out, they make money by buying power when it's low cost and using it when it's high. So that trade-off allows them to operate in the energy markets and make money every day, riding that amount by regulating the end point. So the price of power goes up and down, but their output of what they're paying stays the same. So it's a steady amount all the time that they regulate. It's the same thing with data and heat and all this other shit. And there's like 3 or 4 companies that are starting up doing this all around, because the idea that they're going to create these giant Manhattan-sized sprawling data centers is just stupid. But everybody who lives in that house would get a portion, if not all, of their energy bill paid by this company, and your internet is free, and you get a certain amount of like it's like Star Trek credits. You get a certain amount of cloud computing, usage from it every, every month or something like that, because it's plugged up next to your house. So technically speaking, you can link to it cheaper and use its off-hour points, to
Yeah, there's
as
all
tokens.
kinds of really creative ways that you can solve the problems that are currently in the news. That's a good example of it. It's
Right.
decentralizing. The one of the things that I think is really funny about the Manhattan-sized data center is, from this, like they're calling it like a national security thing. We must have this for national
Right.
security.
Yeah, like
So
Trump's
for
ballroom.
national security, it'd be way better to have a bunch of little nodes all over everybody's house than
Hmm.
one big fucking target that I can
Right.
drop 2 nukes on. Like
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
the silliest thing.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about your functional use of the thing that you designed and where
Mhm.
I've gone in the last little bit. I experimented earlier this year with OpenClaw, which was, for those that don't know, is this sort of the original agent harness that everybody was jumping on. And it certainly had a lot of cool elements to it. Like it was like, oh, this thing can control your computer if you want it, and you can, whatever access you give it, it can act on that access. And that was a holy shit moment for about 2 days. It was like DeepSeek. It was like this, oh my God. Oh, actually. And then as soon as that came out, it was clear that all these other companies were waiting to release this as a possible, um, you know, addendum to their own models. Perplexity had computer, Claude had Cowork, Codex under OpenAI became ChatGPT Work. That's what they really mean. It works. It does something specific. It actually activates in the world. But in the case of when this shit started, it was just OpenClaw. That was the only game in town, and it had a lot of, like, people would build skills, and you could download them and enter. You know, you get in the terminal. You'd have to, if you wanted to install it, you got to go through. You got to install it via bashing your terminal and stuff, which is something most people are not gonna do. And then if you want to add abilities, you have to do that as well. It's not as hard as it used to be, but it's a little scary for most people to even open the terminal on their regular desktop. So they avoided it by and large.
Yeah, it looks just like every hacker movie where the
Yes.
star hacker is basically just typing words and all these words are flowing on the screen. That's essentially what it looks like, and nobody's going to
It
do that. I mean, we
right.
will, but
Yeah.
very few people will do
Everybody
it.
else is just like, "What are you nuts? What are you doing? Why are you opening that? Don't you'll
Right.
break it." Right? So and in the beginning of it, that was the only thing that you kind of could do. But it did a bunch of shit, and people were like building, so I could run my entire company with this thing, and blah blah blah. And you hear this. And then everybody, originally it was OpenClaw, because it became Claude Bot because it was built on Claude, and it was this addendum to it. And then it became OpenClaw because Claude fought back against it. Anthropic said, "Hey, you can't use our name. Stop. You know, you're finding a way around spending tokens that we want you to spend. Part of our business model is redundant questioning, and if your harness eliminates that, where it has to go back to the trough 7 times, because every time when you're in a chat, you ask the first question, it answers. That's a certain amount of tokens. You ask another question, it re-enters all this stuff, and this token costs you this plus this. So as you stay in a chat longer and longer, you know, the first questions, it's like a drug dealer or something. Like the first questions cost you, 4,000 tokens. Within about 40 iterations where you're talking in a conversation, you're up to 100,000 tokens. And it's got to reload those every time to get its next question to stay in context, because it's the only memory it has. So what these harnesses did was create a memory system so it doesn't have to keep going back to zero, and it can only ask the reasoning aspect of the question at hand. So you're literally taking some of the monetary value of these big front end models, because the way they were making money in the back end, kind of on the down low, was you were paying for tokens. And as the longer your conversation, the more you used it, the more expensive it got, which is really dumb product wise. And there was going to be a solution whether they came up with it or not. And so each one of them came up with their own version of it where they could mitigate it. Claude Work doesn't totally solve this, but it solves it enough where people won't get mad at how much they're spending. OpenAI's, I would argue, was a little bit better in terms of work and Codex, saving itself that money because they would rather you be doing stuff and get attached to the software that way, as opposed to make money up front and piss off your subscribers. I think that was smart on their part. But but this was, there was a lot of fighting back and forth about this. And then along came Hermes. Now, Hermes is sort of a next gen version of this. It was built by Newell Labs or whatever, and it's free like OpenClaw. It's a harness that you throw over your other models, and you can give it access to your subscription. You don't have to API it, which is just this kind of back channel to your models. You can just sign into your subscription on any of these services, and it will act as that kind of like overarching brain that only goes to your model when it needs an answer. And that's what Siri is doing. This is my point in this, is that Siri AI, the new one that's coming out, is effectively a bigger, more resilient, more Apple friendly, and certainly more curated version of OpenClaw than Hermes than this. In right now in Siri, you can sign into your ChatGPT account and it will go there for longer questions, or it will just stay local and semi-dumb, whatever it can do there. But now Apple will have its own proprietary intelligence that's both cloud and local, that is, you know, that is encrypted specifically so it stays local with you. And you can use it as a harness for other stuff. That will be the expanded part where, you know, get ready for everybody to start renaming Siri. You won't use that name because everybody will be using it, is the fear. And I started working on a Hermes agent for the house for here because I decided this is the architecture I'm going to build Luna on, which is the house's AI. And I started playing with that in January with OpenClaw, and it was a fucking pain in the ass. It was annoying. Like it would fail, and I'd have to reconnect it to stuff, and some things it was friendly with, and other things weren't. This has been as plug and play as almost anything I've seen in terms of interacting with it and developing skills and that kind of stuff, and still retaining some level of security. And it's it's under the MIT license, it's free and all that kind of stuff. But you can also pay, I guess, for their own little, almost like Leonardo or one of these other things where you could get a little bit, you buy a little bit of cloud computing from all the different models so it can jump around. But if you already have a subscription to something, you just use that and then local models to run everything else. Well, that's what I'm doing. It's nuts. And it's built on an architecture where Claude work and OpenAI's ChatGPT work both they use certain skill format that you can teach it to do things. That is basically Hermes was so good. Claude and ChatGPT have both incorporated how it works into their skill set function. Like that's the architecture it's now built on because it's so clean. And this is the greatest example of the Rob Glenn 99% rule, is this Hermes thing. Because who the fuck needs like artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence when you can piecemeal every reasoning and decision and mechanical thing that you need the thing to do and never cross into it replaces me. I don't even have to do the thing I was doing anymore idiocy that they talk about. But it can be smart enough with a local model to know what it doesn't know and ask a smarter model to solve it when it needs it. And that's the big switch that Siri is doing, almost, as this was the turning point. And when it comes to a product where dipshits like me and Scott Lowell from Queer as Folk were outside the Apple store in Toronto waiting to buy the first iPod when it came out, true story. The early adopters like me, like Rob, who will get in and grind with this stuff, we mess around with it long enough or create something long enough, and then Apple goes, okay, that's the thing. That's what we're doing now. That works. Everybody will understand that. And if we make that clean and easy to do, people are going to jump on board and they're going to love it. That's what's happened, I think, especially in the last, 10 months.
Yeah, and those things are going to need to be like clear things, like like I said, don't forget a date. But you like when you described your interaction with Hermes here, like there's nothing concrete in your description. It's more like a feeling, right? Like before it was a struggle and now it was easy. Well, what was a struggle and what was easy? Like those are very difficult things to articulate. And when you start getting into the weeds,
right?
That's what I'm
They're
trying to
different.
say. Like
Right.
everybody, that's what makes IT work so difficult, like trying to like a IT
Yeah.
help desk, right? Because like I always used to call it like my mom I'd be the IT person for my mom.
Me
And I
too.
always used to
Yes.
joke with her because she would call me and be like, it's broke. And then I would start talking to her and well, I'd be do this, do this. What does the thing say? I don't know. I clicked on it, Well, mom, stop clicking and wait, tell me what it is, right?
Right.
So she would find herself into such little problems and like the number of steps to figure out why is basically impossible, because
Yes.
in her little world, her little computer, her little phone is set up a certain way and that's different than mine and yours and every single person on the chat. It's a little
Yeah.
different, right?
Yeah.
So those experiences these companies are like working inside of a very subjective product.
Yes.
Um, and 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 when you start getting into like human opinion and feeling and stuff like that, it gets hard. Like the products are going to be very difficult to work through and to
Right.
create. So the way I like to think about these things is like if I were to actually like when I have a question like that, like, oh, you remember you did something in the
Hmm.
past. You're like, I know I did that thing and I just can't find it. Right.
Right.
Um,
Recording stopped.
what yeah, that was just Zoom. Don't worry about that. You
Yeah.
should probably turn that off in the future to start off. It doesn't need to record.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so what I'm trying to say is like every little problem is very unique, right? So like what you're looking for the Siri thing to do on your phone is you're looking for it to have enough context that if you describe a very unique question, it just needs to break that question down and like troubleshoot how to figure out how to find it. So,
Right.
I think it was like 2 weeks ago, maybe. And I think I was talking to Jill and said something about a party, right? That's actually a lot of context for these LLMs. They can look at like a lot of data and they can be like this weird like
Yes.
a search in like an old style search would be like party, Jill, and this, and you'd get like crap results. But
Yeah.
if you contextualize that and you use something that has like more a language based search, which is what these LLMs are, and you do it
Yeah.
small and local, you can probably find a couple of choices of what that was pretty quick, right?
Right.
So that's what Apple is doing on that phone is they're creating these like they're basically solving the small problems and
Hmm.
then or solving the small like the small unknowns because it has your context and the key to all of this and the privacy aspect of this when you ask me about my development I rarely talk about it in terms of technical aspects. What I talk about it as is if my local AI wants like if I ask my local AI about the party and Jill 3 weeks ago, it has to be there.
Yeah.
It has to see it. And so my concern is not so much whether it's capable of finding it. My concern is it there? So I've actually concentrated more on how can I seamlessly just get all my shit in one spot
Right.
that then later when I ask it something and it fails, I can come at that problem in different ways. And over time, like I'll find like unique ways of like solving these stupid little problems that I have. Like I can't find a file on my system. And honestly, like those are really the problems. Like I'm not trying to get myself to Mars on a rocket. Like
Right.
all I'm trying to do is remember that stupid email from 4 weeks ago that I can't remember the guy's name, you know?
Right.
And from a productivity standpoint, that's a massive improvement because if I had that question and I didn't have an answer, I might stop doing the thing I'm doing and it might not get done, or it might happen in the wrong way. But if it's seamless and it's quick, then I get the question answered and then it goes into my work and I move on. Right.
Hmm.
And, that sounds kind of like boring because it's not, solving climate change, but that's what productivity is it's a bunch of little problems along the way.
Yeah, and um, that's the part that's going to kind of ease into people's experience in a way that they aren't going to realize how much they use it. In the same way, the internet and desktop computers made their way into everybody's lives without this kind of like nobody showed up in the in the early part of personal computers, like at the door going, here's your government computer, we're all going to do this now, like. And there's almost an expectation with AI that that's what it's like, because I
Yeah.
think there's much more alignment with that than like the way people feel about social media. Is that suddenly just you have to do social media and it's on your phone already, and you might as well download it and it's sort of free. And that, like, that's what it was almost like. We insist there was this drive to push people to use it's funny that the hostility towards I genuinely have towards more social media in terms of the trust aspect of it
Yeah. I
and the
actually think that a lot
assumptiveness
of the
of it.
hostility is coming from pent up anger about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And if Apple's AI works well, you won't know it's AI. It'll just
Hmm.
work. And that's why Apple is kind of well positioned for this, because you already kind of trust your iPhone. Like it just works. That's the magic that they've always
Right.
sold. This just works, right? So AI, if they're applying AI to that, then their goal is to support that feeling that Apple has, or that trust that you have in Apple. And so it won't be a thing. It'll just work, which is why they're
Yes.
connecting it to Siri. And they're just
That's
saying,
right.
yeah, we're using AI, but it's not, I mean, it is, but maybe some of these problems that they're solving aren't even using AI, you know, maybe
Certainly not
AI
to
is
the
the wrong tool to solve it.
well, and also it's not. They're algorithmical, which is part of AI, I guess, artificial intelligence, because it's reasoning certain aspects, and what it does is eliminates the bad choices. That's what AI really is in these certain, because again, it will go through, and if you go Jill Party 2 weeks ago, it will grind through and Google out a list of bullshit like the old Google searches that was like, 1,000,007 results, and you're like, you know, and then it was like,
Right.
well,
But
here's the top
yeah,
ones. And now the new ones go, I know what you're talking about. You mean this specific thing because it's in your messages, and I can eliminate a lot of the other the noise.
right. So, and contextually, a party is a thing you go to have fun, hopefully. Whereas maybe you're talking about political parties. Maybe you're talking about Party of Five because you just started watching that on Netflix. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to say, like, there's a lot of uses of parties, and a non-contextual search of that is just going to grab all the party and grab all the Jill and grab all the this.
Right.
And so the contextual aspect of it is what makes it more accurate.
Right.
And so in order for that to work, it must have the context. And that's actually what everybody's working towards. They're trying to effectively create a thing, which is like the open AI thing is a microphone and a camera. They're creating a
Right.
thing to gather the context. Siri
Data.
is already got the context because it's already on your phone. You've used that system, and that it's probably in a text or an email or on a phone call, and it's going to be there. And you trust that Apple is going to protect the stuff on your phone as much as you protect anything else, like your credit card that's on Apple Pay or whatever. So yeah, so
Hmm.
these the productization of it won't be a massive thing. It won't be a singular thing. It'll be a whole bunch of little things. And if it's working really well, you won't know it's there.
Right.
And that will be the magic.
Yeah, and uh, and increasingly it's about friction removal. Most technology,
Yes, exactly.
ultimately, long form is about the removal of friction. That's all it is. How I keep having to do this stupid thing that's not part of the thing. So how do I remove that friction? When you're practicing guitar, one of the things you do eventually to after you've been playing for a while and you're stuck and you plateau is you recognize that it isn't your practicing and it isn't your playing or the kind of music you like or the difficulty of it. It's the inefficiency of how you're holding your left hand or how you hold your pick. And you're going to have to relearn one of them starting from scratch. And there's a lot of short-term friction to do that, to eliminate the long-term friction of, if you ever try to learn the rest of what you want to learn, your left hand's not going to be able to do it because you're holding your hand wrong. That short-term friction is that we're learning how to pick differently or learning how to hold our hand properly in a lot of these situations. When it comes to like organizing your data, organizing what is important to the work that you do, the part that's important to you and the part that's just kind of busy work about it. And what AI has as its greatest opportunity, I think, for creatives especially, is not to replace the work that you're doing, but to eliminate the friction. And a lot of the friction so far has been money. And that's why the things, just the available tools, look at Logic. GarageBand comes free with any Mac you get. So you get the computer, you get GarageBand. Now, the Beatles recorded the White Album and Sgt. Pepper's on a fucking 4-track with bouncing audio and recorded in mono because they would back and forth. And so if they'd have had GarageBand, holy shit, right? Never mind the stereo aspect of it, but just having up to 99 tracks of 48K, on an effectively the length of the song is only the depth of your hard drive, and it comes with 256 gigs on an old shit Mac. That's incredible. Like that, it is, those tools being available changed my life, being able to edit my own acting reels, all this stuff. We've talked about like how that technology allowed me, this, broke ass kid from Kentucky who drove out to LA to be an actor. It gave me tools that didn't exist a generation before, right? And and I've always been kind of on the cutting edge of that part of it because of the gift that it gave me to get, to level up, as it were. That's what AI signals to me, and what it's been, I've been using it for I think its greatest gift, besides deep research on medical advances and and discovering the math of the universe, and maybe again helping us flick away an asteroid that might destroy everybody on Earth, or find a technology eventually to stave off a super volcano from going off. Those kind of giant things. On a personal level, directly, there's a lot of areas where it will eliminate friction between you and the thing you want to get done in a way that I don't think people can grasp yet. And that's the thing that AI companies aren't selling, because they don't experience that. None of them travel, play guitar, tour as a comedian, like people. Like, they just don't.
Yeah.
So none of it's going to occur to them.
I use this example, and maybe it'll ring true with people in the chat. So as a small business owner, one of my biggest issues is that there's a whole lot of communication back and forth between myself, my employees, and our clients. And buried inside of that are choices. Also, I have to track time, right? So like if we're doing a job and I have 3 or 4 people, they each have to track time. Then we have to invoice, and we have to do a lot of things. So what used to happen is that if it was, every other week I'd start to bill, I'd write an invoice, I'd have to go search and read through a whole bunch of emails, and then I would have to go into some form of chat. So if they were on Teams or Slack, you'd have to basically suffer through reading just this after this after this. And you're like, all I'm looking for is what date that person decided this, or when they delivered this thing, or what's the name of the file, something like that. So effectively what I started doing, so you would go through all of that, you'd summarize it. It might take me a half a day on a decent sized project just to invoice. Now what I do is, because I've effectively funneled all that stuff into a singular place, all I have to do is say, all the communication for the last 2 weeks, summarize for me what we did, what choices were made, and what we delivered. And that damn thing will give me a perfect bullet list of that. and I check it, make sure it looks accurate. Usually I have to like summarize it differently or make it smaller or call it something different, but I didn't have to go get it. So I probably save at least a day or two a week or every 2 weeks just on invoicing. And I shouldn't have to spend that time because it's all in these systems. And when you buy a subscription to Slack or you buy a subscription to Teams or even Zoom, like we're on, like they're like basically like, we're going to make your life great and organized and you can communicate and all this other stuff. But really what they did is they just filled your inbox with more stuff, right?
Right.
So it actually makes it harder in some senses. You feel like you're communicating better, but you're actually not, right? Because you
Yeah.
can't find it. So anyway, so my use of AI from a business standpoint is not to create the creation. It's not to do it's to save the half day. So all I have to do is hit go on an invoice and then I can go start doing the work again. So it gives us focus and it allows us to be more productive because we're actually being billable doing the actual job for longer than we were before.
Right. There, the friction part of life that it can help eliminate on a bunch of fronts. And this is again, robots for dangerous jobs. We've already done that with like bomb disposal robots are probably the most obvious version of this for an analogy for this. But working in a nuclear power plant or a chemical plant or those kind of things, eventually getting to the point where robotics are handling all those things and you never have to have anybody die and if something goes south in one of those places would be a plus, I would think. But it's going to take work and it's going to take a lot more testing and a lot more growing of those things. There's been a couple of really odd leaps forward in research, especially. Let me see if I can bring this up because
I have a hard stop at 1 just to
all
give
right.
you
Well,
20
I'll
minutes.
wrap it up by then. We're good.
Yeah.
We'll be
Just
there.
letting you know.
Yes. So I think the biggest one is a very curious thing happened on our way to Meta being a shitty platform with a terrible AI that I have no interest in using. But because of the lack of direction for Meta AI, which you would think would be singularly well suited to a format, you have Facebook. There are a lot of companies that develop a chatbot or an AI on their own system, and you're like, do that thing, right? Do the thing, do Facebook shit. What do you mean? Why would you, I don't need marketing emails and shit written, all the broader large language model shit from this. I need help with Facebook if I have problems with the Facebook interface, like a chatbot you call for technical service, maybe. That I don't need it to do the rest. But apparently they have no idea what they do over there. So they're just throwing, it at everything. And they accidentally, on purpose, I suppose, advanced their medical model so much that there was a huge leap forward in that. And now, technically speaking, and this is crazy, the AI that runs Instagram can diagnose illness better than something like 80% of doctors. Never mind the ones that OpenAI is working on. They have a medical thing that they're working on as well. And there's been a lot of advances in this. And the melanoma vaccine that was announced this week as passing its clinical trials, it was advanced because of AI late last year. Like they were having trouble getting it past a certain hump and making it work. And it was the introduction of like AI and deep reasoning when those things came on, when the big Claude model came forward and the big OpenAI model came forward. That was the difference between it'll take us 10 years to get there and oh shit, it just happened this afternoon. We asked and it told us and it worked. So here, I'll show you. The Meta researchers built an AI that learned to read chest x-rays without needing diagnostic labels during pre-training. RayDyno is a self-supervised foundation model trained on 840,000 chest x-rays and evaluated another 82,000 images across 12 public datasets. Instead of being built for one diagnosis, the same visual encoder was tested across 9 radiology tasks, including disease classification, image segmentation, and medical report generation. With relatively small task-specific adapters, it reached state-of-the-art performance and generalized better to previously unseen patient populations. So you know what kind of cancer they had. You take their x-rays and their scans, you put it on this thing and go, hey, looking at this, can you tell me what's wrong with this patient? They've tested them. This person may have passed away a long time ago. It doesn't matter. But looking at this image, we know what they had. Can you figure out what they had by just looking at this image? And it answered better than somewhere in the order of 80% of the doctors and radiologists that looked at this. Now, again, one of the fears was, oh my God, it's going to put radiologists out of business. There are actually more of them because the delivery and gathering the data, having a radiologist work with you because people are squishy and there's a lot going on there. You need that person there. So far, we can't walk in and go into the fucking chamber like it's some sort of, TSA scanner yet that will tell you what's up with you. So you need more radiologists for this. Researchers also examined performance across age, sex, and population groups, finding reduced demographic bias compared with competing approaches. So the AI that they developed on this data set was more fair, less sexist, and less racist than the other ways that they would go about doing this. Broad-based age-related choices, sex-related choices, where they're like, here's a bunch of women. You tell somebody there's a bunch of women with this stuff, and you enter it in, and they go, I think these ladies probably all smoke, right? That was that kind of shit, where the bias seeps in through a bunch of different ways. The bigger shift. Medical AI may be moving from separate models for every radiology test towards foundation models that learn a general representation of human anatomy and disease from the images themselves. Radon was evaluated retrospectively on research data sets. Now, that's the point of this, though. That's how you evaluate them. Strong benchmark performance does not mean it is ready to independently diagnose patients in real-world clinical practice. Right. But that's how you train everybody. All medical students are trained with retrospective data. Their teachers are telling them about diseases that happened. They're working on dead people. They're doing exactly what I said, which was like, look at this cell, tell me if it's cancerous or not under the microscope. They're testing on stuff, because if you don't know already, how do you know they're right? So that's a little silly. Like, that's how all training happens. And this almost goes towards our thing about, their AI is learning on all the books in the world and the scripts and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that screenwriters learn from reading scripts and watching movies. That's how learning happens.
That's always been my point. Yeah. Like, you're effectively an AI. Like, when that's how you learn, but in the case of the radiology thing here, like, so what, even if it's 50%, like, just run it through it and have it as a check. Like, have the person check it, have the AI check it, have the whatever check it, and then compare the results, and you get better outcomes because
that's right.
You've got more eyes on the result, right? Like, so it seems like a no-brainer. Like, and effectively, that's just image recognition, which is effectively what image generators are. Like, like when you ask it for a picture of Trump and it gives it to you, it does that because it's a reverse image.
Yeah, it's reverse engineering. An image of him.
It's like the reverse of what that's doing. It sees an image and tells you what it is, or it makes an image after you ask for what you want, right? They're the same thing, just used in reverse.
Right.
So the better we get at making pictures that are accurate of Trump, the better we get at deep fakes. In theory, the better we get at recognizing cancer in pictures of people's chests. Like, that's the irony inverse of it.
Yeah. Because it's the A-B logic is still logic. If A equals B, then B equals A, then give me A or B, and I can tell you what the opposite is. And there's so many extrapolations of that in science that they're almost infinite, right? Especially when you're trying to diagnose disease or explore space or geography or whatever. If something's not up, it's down. How much is it up or how much is it down? Those kind of things, measurement, data, all those things are super important. Now, we only got 10 minutes left, and I know you have a heart out, so I'm going to make sure that you do this. For the sake of our chat and everybody, um, I want you to kind of talk about your system a little bit without giving it away or anything, but like your kind of any updates you've made to it or any of your favorite things about the active functional use of what you're doing business wise with AI and how you're incorporating it into your workflow and how it's helping you get shit done for real, not in the abstract, not in this it'll take everybody's job and do stuff, but the mechanics of it.
Yeah. So the first thing is I tried to describe it before is effectively I'm turning on sensors, if you want to call it that. I'm turning on cameras and turning on microphones. And so like one example is Zoom. I use Zoom for all my meetings now, and I had before, but I always record them like you were recording this. And so Zoom, it gives you the recording and then it creates its own transcript. So it's using its own local AI or whatever their AI is or whatever their speech recognition is. And it's fantastic because if you're separated from each other, it knows that you're talking and it knows that I'm talking because the inputs to it are two different inputs. So it doesn't even need AI to know which one is talking, which one of us is talking.
Right.
Which is fun. Anyway, so it gives you a transcript. And so I make sure that transcript is always in the same place, always in a place that can be seen by my local AI. I effectively have had it download, make a mirror of every single email that we as a company have sent or received. And then sort of in the background, because you have all that data, you can essentially like come at it in all kinds of different ways. And so the time is spent like creatively thinking about how to like best utilize that to save time. That's effectively it. And I started to describe that like invoicing. Like if one that's really, really important that I've found that works extremely well is so ChatGPT, and I use that. So, but if anybody uses their thing, you have this like massive, well, I have a massive list, and however much you interact with it, you'll have a huge list of all the chats that you've ever done with ChatGPT. And in almost all cases, it's like you have a conversation with people. Like I remember that one time I talked to Hal about this or that. I wish I could remember that website he told me, or I wish I could remember what our conclusion was, right? So if anybody's ever tried to like figure out what's in their chat history in ChatGPT, funny enough, it's basically impossible. You can't do it with ChatGPT. I've tried, trust me, it's not possible. So then I said, ChatGPT has a function where you're supposed to be able to download all your information. And basically I did that twice and they never sent it to me. So, you could like be like, oh, fuck them. They're, blah. So what I did is I used Codex, which is ChatGPT, to browse a site like I would, and it basically just read everything I ever did and put it in a database.
Right.
It took about 3 or 4 days, and I don't know. There's probably 10 or 15,000 chats in, back and forths or
threads,
whatever, like threads.
Yeah,
thank you. And so now when I want to go back to a chat that I know I had, one the other day was I did a ton of work to like figure out a formula for anodizing a particular type of metal. And it's quite specific, right? I just search my history and then the result can basically link straight back to my chat. And I literally search, it gives me a result. I click on the thing and it opens up that chat and I just continue on. Okay. So I own that data. It's my data. It's on their system too. But what I don't have is the ability to like go back and redo, like go back into that same context. So I just saved myself a ton of time because I don't have to re-explain it. I don't have to like reinvent it. I can go back to the same place that has all this information. And if they decide they're going to erase it, that's fine too. I've got it all on my computer, right?
Right.
Um, and I can transfer it somewhere else. So essentially, the biggest, by far, the biggest thing that we've used it for is essentially like actively having everything here and then using that stuff to like generate context so that we can get to the answers much faster that we already know. Like
Right.
it's our knowledge base. And the key factor in developing that is that I had to wrap my head around was I don't need to solve the problem at the beginning, which most systems like this need. They need you to know you have to put it in a certain way and you have to get it out a certain way. And I basically decided, forget all of that. I don't care how it goes in and I don't care how it comes out. I'm going to
Right.
use AI on the fly to just pull it out however I want to that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't worry about it. And that was like life changing in terms of that stuff. Then the last thing would be using agents is like a completely different way of thinking.
Yeah.
And and you have to think about think about your own what you need to know when you start a task, right? So like if you have to like compartmentalize your thinking. So if today I'm working on a CAD or something like that, uh, a specific project, like I want to do it the same way every time, but I want to do it unique to that thing. And so
Yeah.
we've developed a bunch of ways that it's going to get super nerdy to like effectively like share the way we work with it to
Mm-hmm.
with other people so that we all learn from each other and we all are sort of converging on working with it the same way. And so all of our like memory files are very similar to each other and they start to converge because the best way that's, one of my engineers works might be better than I do. And I want to learn from him and he wants to learn from me. And so like all that data is open to all of us.
Mm.
It's like my brain can be seen by one of my employees and vice versa. It's really
Right.
cool.
Yeah. And that, and that is limited to what you want to share and what you don't. Like that's the point of it, that it is proprietary and specific to work and what you are doing. It need not, you know,
Exactly.
connect to anything else, and it stays on task. It keeps the whatever AI system you're using focused on the job at hand instead of having a generalized large language model, a GLLM.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And we do the hard stuff with a subscription and we're at the 100 and we're at 100 a month on Codex.
mhm.
That's the second tier, I think. There's a third tier that's higher. And most of them have like a 20, 30, 100-ish, and a 200 or 300-ish. There's
Right.
kind of usually three versions on all these places. We use the middle one only because we just hit our limits if we're on the 20, but we only just recently started hitting our limits. So we're not actually using that much. And frankly, I'm like I said a while ago, like we're just going to drive it like it's stolen because it
Right.
is. Like these guys are giving away all of
They
their
have no, yeah.
capital expenditure. They're just
Yep.
giving it away. And what do I care if they go bankrupt buying GPUs from each other? Like
Yeah.
I don't.
Right. Well, okay. So
So
that's the most. Okay. Leave it to you to right at the last 3 minutes of the show land on probably the greatest conversation point of everything, and this is what we're going to have to talk about next time on the show. Is that these guys? I've been saying for a while that they're in the business of putting themselves out of business. Whoops! Why did my lights go to sleep? Somebody hit a button. What's going on there? You
I
seeing the
thought like
audio
a
there?
cat flew by.
I know, yeah, yeah. That for real. AI was like, "Hey, don't give away my secrets." No, is that in the process of them putting themselves out of business, and in the process of them going bankrupt because they're buying all these GPUs that they're not going to need, all this technology is available right now for somebody to
Right.
build.
Drive their car. Just
Drive
drive
the
it and
fuck out of it,
crash it.
right?
Like
And
use
yes,
it.
right. Yes, use it to make whatever you need to make, because again, if you can help train a local model on your own computer that runs well enough the stuff that you want and need to do to the beyond, without all this like extraneous bullshit, if they go out of business tomorrow, it won't fucking matter. And you'll still have these
it's all right
friction-free
here.
tools.
I still have my tools. I'll just go to Anthropic or I'll go to somebody else. Like by the time they go bankrupt, there'll be somebody else. I mean, hell, you could use a local Chinese model. I don't know, but it was trained on that too.
Yeah. That's exactly that's what I'm saying though, is that you could train your own the same way that they're training DeepSeek and all the moonshot ones on Claude and stuff. There's nothing stopping anybody from doing that too. And people like you and I are going to be doing that. We're not the only ones. Again, there's 2.5 million models on GitHub alone, and that's not including people that are proprietary building them.
Yeah. And so the thing is what they want to say is if we go bankrupt, we bring down the whole economy. And the key there from the individual standpoint and from the government standpoint is like, no, if you go bankrupt, you go bankrupt. There's no bailouts. Like you guys have been trading money and making circular contracts that don't mean anything for 3 or 4 years. Fuck you. Like you're gone. Right. That's how we need to treat it. We need to treat it like that. No bailouts. Like you guys have been.
What are you talking about?
So what if the stock market goes from 55 to 49, like, it was never at 55 because the 55 was like based on a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
So like prepare yourself as an individual, like, and make sure that you're not totally exposed and, use their stuff that they're giving away. It's like, I've learned, I think they say it's like 10 times. It's so for us at $100 a month, if we hit our stop, we're using it like $1,000 worth of their compute. Yeah, give it to me. I want it.
Right.
I'll use 15 if you let me.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you start layering it up. It's like you can expand the value of that. That's why if you use a harness or use local models for lesser stuff, you can stretch what you're getting out of them even further because you're only using it for the important, powerful tasks, only the heaviest lifting. You're not using a forklift to fucking drive down the driveway and get the mail and come back. And that's,
It's 1 o'clock. I got to go, but I would say
bye.
Use it, like drive it like it's stolen.
Yeah.
Make them pay, like policy wise, they pay for what they spent. Like if they need a power plant, they pay for a power plant. That's a simple one. And third, no bailouts. When they go fuck tits up, whatever the term is, no bailouts. And then move forward. That's my stance.
Tough shit. You dug a hole, go jump in it. Like there's plenty of other people that will innovate. If you fucked up, somebody else will pick up the slack and run with it. It's not that kind of work. So thanks so much, Rob. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Have a great weekend.
All right, I'll talk to you later. There he goes. I'm letting him go so he can bug out. And look at that. The Zoom part of it worked pretty well. All right. That's okay. All right. I think that end meeting for all. There we go. Yeah. This might be the solution going forward with everybody to make sure that the sound is a little better or something. That worked pretty well once we got it up and running. I don't know if it's going to affect am I going to have to get another goddamn subscription though? I already pay for Ecamm and it has guests so that I can use that. I used to use the Ecamm guest part on when I did OBS bank shotting. And I'm going to have to pay for Zoom to put it on Ecamm that I pay for to Jesus. All right. I'm going to make my own software, goddammit. Before this whole thing collapses, I'm going to have AI build me a proprietary piece of software. I know how. Don't push it. All right. So I'll let you guys go. I literally part of my brain is fixated on what I was doing right before the show and what I will be doing the rest of the afternoon, along with cleaning and straightening my house. I will see you this afternoon for HouseSparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc., etc. I will be slowly reintroducing the tools. Can we raid Brian? Can we raid Boston Brian? I hope so. That would be lovely. He's a lovely person. That would be worthwhile. That's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting. Excellent. Yeah, we're all set to rate him. So I'll let you guys go. Send him my love, and I will see you guys this afternoon, okay? Whoops. Why'd you stop? There you go. There we go. Don't be afraid. Drive it like it's stolen, people. You can't break anything. You're a good person. It's like Jimmy Carter refusing to pick up a hammer because somebody did something terrible with a hammer once and never working for Habitat for Humanity. That's what that's like. You guys are awesome. I'll talk to you later on. Yeah! Yeah, that was me. Still is. Remember, safety third.
You move like lightning on my skin. A sacred equation, dreaming of sin. My touch is a promise from
God bless Jimmy Carter.
Cold as ice that cries out for fire.
Reflections of words.
Teach me not to feel. Pray in this nightmare won't show me
Show me what's real.